Welcome again to another episode of the Dialed and Driven Hockey Mentality Podcast. Chris Palmer with Piranha Training, mental performance coach for hockey players. Jeff Lurg, former professional hockey player and in charge of goalie mentors. This podcast was created to give actionable things to people on the way to their big hockey dream and to give those around them information they need to help support the people they care about. Today we're going to talk about something really cool. It's the myth of motivation. Is this a thing? Is it not a thing? It's pretty controversial. There's a couple different sides, and we're going to talk about it in depth. But Jeff, can you get us started?
Yeah, welcome. We're here again in Traverse City, Michigan. We're on our summer goalie camp tour. We are in the Scouts Lounge. So I envision this room that we're in as a place where all of the one-on-one individual meetings occur. When a player concludes their training camp, they'll come in this room with the coaching staff. And I think this is the room where many dreams come true and unfortunately many dreams come to die. There's actually a little side back door here that goes right to the parking lot. I think I could envision a player coming in being told, hey, you didn't make it, keep working hard, and then here's the door, there's the parking lot. So anyways, now with that, we're going to tie in the motivation and discipline factors, because if you make it to this level of play where NHL training camps are hosted, you have a high level of each of those characteristics.
This thing of motivation we hear all the time. Motivation, motivation, motivation. I need motivation to do something. And it's true. At the most basic level, you have to have a motivation to do something. If you're hungry, you're motivated to eat. If you're tired, you're motivated to sleep. But it's a little bit different when it comes to doing this kind of high-level stuff that's not survival. Trying to get to the top of the world in hockey or wherever your top is, it's really hard to stay motivated every day. It's hard to bring that every single day. Some people say motivation is completely garbage. It's just discipline. And then there's people who are disciplined who sometimes come over, and it's this back and forth thing between motivation and discipline. At this core level, you cannot bring the energy for something unless you want it. So motivation is completely irrelevant. But motivation can wane. If you're on a vacation with your family, how motivated are you going to be to go do something? If you're at a point in the season where, man, I'm a ton of games in and I'm just kind of tired, how motivated are you? In the end, discipline is the only thing that makes things work, but it's in harmony with motivation.
Yeah, there's that element of being a highly motivated athlete, but more athletes than not are highly motivated for a brief period of time. And really, it's that discipline that's the gasoline in the tank to keep driving some of that motivation. And when I go back to the goal-setting aspect of athletes and the mentality, I view all those as kind of the trifecta. If you're working toward this goal, you're going to be really motivated to go accomplish it. Like, we're here in the room where there's Stanley Cup photos of the Detroit Red Wings, 1997. They got over their 42-year drought. And for me, I was an 11-year-old kid at the time. I watched those Red Wings hoist the Stanley Cup, and I set that goal. I want to play professional hockey. So of course, it was easy to be motivated for a brief period of time and then still keep thinking, I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it. But if you don't stay disciplined to keep feeding that motivation, and if you don't truly care about that end goal enough to go through the hard times and enough to put all that time and sacrifice in, then that motivation is going to wane.
Let's talk about that relationship then, because what you said, sometimes the discipline helps fuel the motivation. Now, when you're doing things, if you know you just have a job to do every day, I'm just going to do this, I'm going to do this, you have it planned out. No matter what I have going on, I'm going to do this today. Whatever, training of any kind. If you know that's not negotiable, you get it done even when you don't want to do it. And when you get better and you get rewards and all of a sudden things are working and you're getting stronger in your brain, we talked about in the last episode, the mid-cingulate cortex and how it actually gets better and better at doing hard things. When you do hard things, that actually adds to your motivation because you realize you did this thing. It helped you move farther, getting it closer to your big dream, which fuels the motivation again. But the other way around, looking for motivation can be really hard when you're tired. It can be really hard when there's distractions, hanging out with your boyfriend, hanging out with girlfriend, whatever the thing is. It's so hard to keep motivation. And if you have to refuel yourself every single day, being motivated to do it, it just doesn't work. I mean, that's why when you take a look at fitness, January is the biggest month for gyms, right? New Year's resolution first 3 weeks of January, new memberships, gyms are packed. And then they just sort of wane because they were motivated. There was this idea that I want this thing, but working toward this thing loses motivation unless there really is a discipline tied to it. And that discipline makes you stronger.
Another element of athletics, another attribute that's sought after by coaches and management at higher levels is a consistent hockey player, a consistent athlete. And it ties in, you mentioned it, the gym memberships, they peter out at the end of the first month. Well, it's no different than any athlete. A scout might go to see them play early in the hockey season, and they're firing all cylinders. They're motivated for an awesome year, and they're playing amazing. And that's why it's their job to go see them again and again and again, a handful of times, because then they have a collective report on a certain player, and it's that consistency of play that truly gets you propelled into the next level of play. So it's easy to be great one time, but it's very hard to do it consistently over the long period of time. And it's the disciplined approach of the way you prepare, the disciplined approach of how you practice, of how you stretch, of how you eat, of how you sleep, of how you hydrate. All those elements of discipline, and those are tough things to do all the time, but all those elements tie into the summary of who you are as an athlete. And so for any player that's looking to try to make that next level, which should be all of you if you're setting goals, it's the disciplined approach to your life that's going to get you there.
No, that makes so much sense. I had an old boss years ago. I used to be in banking, and this boss told me that if you start with discipline, then you'll be motivated to do things. Kind of true, but we talked about before off camera, if you wanted to train me to be a world-class bird feeder, carpenter, make these awesome bird feeders, I'm sure you could train me to be great. I'm sure I could be disciplined to do it, but I wouldn't really want to do it. So sometimes all times you have to have some core motivation. Like, what do I really truly want to do? Whether it's the big dream that you're motivated by, whether it's trying to get to D1, whatever the thing is, having some motivation is really, really important as a core thing. And then realizing that motivation alone won't get you there. Discipline. It really is. It's so hard to do. And I think what happens is when you look at our lives, we're so built for comfort. We're so built for just avoiding pain. It's a great thing. Like, it's great that we have this thing in us that helps us avoid pain. But avoiding pain is just surviving. And what we're trying to do here, whether it's the big dream here, whatever big dream you have, you're not trying to survive, you're trying to thrive. And the only way to thrive is to do hard things. Do hard things tied to your overall motivation of where you want to go, and know that your motivation is going to be up and down, and that discipline's the only thing you can rely on. You cannot rely on being all jacked up every single day for what you want. Great example is practices. If you look at practices, so often people practice at maybe 50 to 70% of game effort. It happens all the time. They're sitting in line, they're messing around. It's fine. The social part of practice is good. You should do that. But if you're not finding a way every time to realize that the moment your blade touches the ice, it's time to go with everything you have. We talk about dialed and driven. Dialed and driven, we talk about, is the only way to get your goals. It's because that dialed in is the discipline. That driven is the motivation. They work hand in hand. And if you're not doing that all the time, you're going to miss out. So I want to mention one other thing. You might think from us talking here that what we're saying is you got to be this freak that's just completely just a hockey player. No, that's a kiss of death. Find a way to be dialed in all aspects of your life. Be dialed in and be the best boyfriend, girlfriend, son, friend, buddy, fisherman, whatever the things are you love doing, and compartmentalize your life so that you're just enjoying all those things, given everything you have and the life you have.
I don't know why this example just popped into my mind, but it was when you start talking about consistently staying disciplined and all the ups and downs. I think of a golfer. Let's just take a professional player on the pro tour. They're working to accomplish winning a major tournament. And in order to get there, they had to become a better putter. So for days and days and days, they'd arrive hours before a match and do 100 putts. And let's just say they go and accomplish that goal, and then their next tournament, they don't do those 100 putts because now they're satisfied with what they did, but now there should be that recalibration of, hey, I want to win another tournament. I want to continue to be great. I want to continue to reach my personal peak. So that can be applied to the hockey world as well, where you get that taste of playing well. You stop doing those things that got you there, that discipline wanes, and then you get yourself off the track that you were on. So they kind of tie in hand, and we know that motivation can only be short-lived. If you're just going to accomplish that win on the weekend, I want to go beat our arch rival. You see it all the time. A team really gets up to play against an arch rival, and they're so motivated to beat them. They get a big win. The next game, they go and play a lesser opponent, and then they play terrible and lose, or they don't play up to par. You see it all the time with the emotional aspect as well.
There's a thing that I do when I work with guys. I usually work with people, guys and girls, who come to me because for whatever reason, they've lost motivation. They just don't feel as into all this, which makes it really hard to be disciplined. Again, going back to the birdhouse thing, I don't want to make birdhouses. No matter how much discipline I have, I'm not going to be great at it. But what happens a lot is that somehow in all of this, they lose their love for the game. And a lot of times it's because of pressure from parents, or maybe they've got an uncle who played in the NHL and there's some pressure to kind of fit in, or there's the pressure of feeling like you want to be somebody that comes up all the time. And I understand all that. That's very, very superhuman type of stuff. But in the end, if you can find a way, and we talk about these in these sessions, let's talk about, what do you really want? Like, do you want this anymore? Because you've talked about a kid coming into practice who's just lifeless. Like, what's going on? Why are you lifeless? He's lifeless because his parents have him signed up for 7 different things, and he's up at 5 a.m. doing this and then this, and it's just like, it's too much discipline. It's totally out of balance. So balance becomes this thing, and when I talk to people about what they truly want, do you want to take your ball and go home? It's one of the things we talk about. Take your ball and go home. Every single time, once I pull that pressure off, the kid figures out he really did want that, but it was just the outward pressures they're getting to him. So if you're a loved one taking care of somebody in this hockey dream, if you start seeing somebody kind of falling off, see if there's some pressure somewhere, because if there's too much pressure, they don't get to remember why they started this. It makes it really hard to be disciplined.
Yeah, and you become a sum of your environment. And that's why it's important to surround yourself with other athletes that can help motivate you along the way. Some athletes are super self-driven and super self-motivated, where they can just get up all by themselves, go to the track and field and do sprints, or go up to the sticks and pucks all by themselves and go and skate, where others just might need a little boost along the way, but they're still just as motivated. They just like having a friend or counterpart with them. So as you're an athlete, look for those other players on your team or close friends that you can pull into the battle with you. So it might just be a simple, hey, every Tuesday we're going to the sticks and pucks at this rink, and then you each can go and work on your game individually. So some athletes are wired just to do things on their own. I think that's just the types of personalities. Everyone's different, and they might be just as good as that person who can go all by themselves. So that's the key of surrounding yourself with other like-minded people, because it can be true on the other foot. If you don't hang out with that type of crew and you always need a little boost to get the best out of yourself, you're not going to be reaching your maximum peak performance at really any time.
So really, just to summarize here, is it the motivation myth? Is it the myth? Kind of. Motivation is really, really important. It's the starting point. Deciding what you really, really want in your life. I mean, you really want it, because look at the sacrifices that go into this. This looks like all fun and games. How nice is this, right? You know how many hours, how many years went into this? How much time busting your ass trying to get this thing, all the pain and the sorrow, the ups and the downs. There's so much. So figure out what you want. That core motivation is so important first. But then once you know that, don't rely on motivation for the rest of it, because motivation is too up and down, just like emotions and tiredness and distraction and everything else. Take that core motivation and find a way to start a discipline. And you don't have to be perfect. Just day one, do something. Write it down in your book. We talked about the belief book before. Write down, I did this extra thing. That discipline literally makes your brain stronger, makes it more capable of stronger things, makes you better, which feeds back into the motivation side. It's a loop, and they relate to each other all the time. If you want motivation by itself, it's the motivation myth. But if you use it as a starting point, it is the fuel that gets you over into building this discipline, getting stronger, to have the best chance of having the dreams and wishes you want.
Exactly. It is this snowball that just keeps building. The more you want it, the more motivated you'll be, the more discipline you'll put into it, and it'll just keep cycling over and over and over. And that's really, as an athlete, that's the glory of playing. It's just that feeling where I want this and I'm going after it, and you're putting all the time and energy and extra effort in. And that's really why sports is so emotional. If you didn't care, there would be no emotion to it. If you didn't put all those hours in, there's no emotion to it. I mean, we reference the Stanley Cup playoffs, but if you see that those emotions of those players, they know how much time and sacrifice they put in. And you're referencing some of these photos behind us here, the Detroit Red Wings hoisting the Stanley Cup. Like, there's pure emotion in every one of those players and elation of winning that ultimate prize, because they know how much they wanted it. They know how many hours and how much discipline it took to get there. And then when you're living in that battle, you're more motivated than ever to try to go and achieve that maximum prize or your personal peak performance, wherever you lie on that. So that'll conclude our episode today. But as a reminder, keep staying dialed and staying driven on your goals, as that's the only way you'll accomplish success.
Again, the Hockey Mentality Podcast, Dialed and Driven.